Recording live from somewhere, it's the world's famous TITT, its home team in the motherfucking house.
No question.
It's Davis backwards and who? State your name, gangsta.
Philmatic 365, aka the Liquid Shiznit.
That's right, recording live, courtesy of ourselves, giving a shout out to the War Room Sports Podcast Network.
Yeah.
Devin, Jimmy, B. Austin, the Generals, of course, the War Room, 6 to 8 Thursdays, Eastern Standard Time.
Best sports show in the world.
The Burtons, John Appetit, check them out.
Absolutely.
Salute to tallyandtwine.com. Check them out. Best fine timepieces that your money could buy. Black owned, black represented, too black, too strong. Shout to Randy. Definitely a big shout to all of our listeners out there. Everybody that's been rocking with us. Shout to Kill Ripkin. Shout to Vanya out there in Germany.
She got an episode dropping very soon.
Yes, sir. Shout to Planet Asia. Shout to everybody that's been rocking with us here lately. You can check out our episodes, of course, on SoundCloud as well as Apple Podcasts, and coming soon, very soon, tissueandthetape.com. You can also catch up with us there and get our old episodes as well as some of the things that we're going to be writing about as far as the culture and things that we're just going to bring to your attention that we find dope, right, Philmatic?
Absolutely, man. That dope content will be on tissueandthetape.com along with some of our player partners and access to what they got going on.
Yeah.
Everybody that's ever been on the show, you'll be able to check them out and see what they got going on. And it's just going to be hip hop culture all congregating in one single space, man. It's going to be dope.
I like that. Shout to DJ Rick G's, of course.
Best in the world.
Yeah, honorary Heat Holder, doing his thing with Pusha T out there. We see you, baby.
Yeah, man. Did you see him over at he was at Serato in NYC, just burning down the turntables?
Yeah,
Mr. Straight Fire.
Yeah, no, that was crazy. DJRickG's.com. You can check out everything he's got going on there. Friday night bangers.
All those dope ass mixes. You can get them on. Those will also be available on tissueandthetape.com. You know,
right.
So
yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing. We're excited to talk about other people's stuff, just like we're excited to talk about ours because, no one will fall because we each other's crutches.
Absolutely, man.
Gotta
support the people that support us.
No question, man. Again, man, we were just talking about the realest podcast ever. Shout out to Matt. Happy to see that he's recovering well and he's back on the air.
Do I need to go get the clappers? Yo, man.
My nigga clappers.
Yo, shout out to Matt and C Diddy, man. One of my favorite listens, man. They gotta be ecstatic, man, because as we record this, as they are Laker fans, I know that's not what this is about, but I just wanted to say congrats to them. They got LeBron on their squad, so
yeah.
So shout out to that third place finish.
Right. It should be interesting though.
No, but we will get into the current events that went on in the past in the next episode. But this one, we had to take it back a score in 5 years ago.
It's only right just because when you look at the current landscape of hip hop culture, and you look at some of the dates, some of the moments, some of the albums, some of the songs,
some of the icons
that got their starts, it wasn't necessarily 2008 and 1998 and that it was many moons ago.
Yeah.
It was,
quarter century.
It was 88 that we talked about a few episodes ago. And of course, it was 93. And for those years in particular to be only 5 years apart from each other, there were so
vastly different.
Vastly different. Exactly. There were so many things that happened in between those years, but also just along the timeline of those years leading into, where we were. Like with 88, the thing about that was it was, leading you into another decade. It was taking you from one era into, a completely different one. And with 93 being, the beginning leading into the middle of some of the most definitive times in the culture.
Absolutely.
It is really fun for us to be able to take some time and juxtapose the two against each other, because when you look at it, 88, 93, 96,
95,
98. those were some of the years that really defined, where we are and, where we were going. And we had no clue, like, for Black culture to be what it is now, for it to be so predominant and for it to be so strong as a global voice, a global force, something that was organically built by Black culture,
absolutely,
which is hip hop, had such a huge influence on that being the case. So
yeah, man. And one of the things that I really just in doing the research for this episode, I couldn't help but get like amazed, like all over again, by the amount of diversity in the artists that were at the top of the culture and just bringing releases. I mean, you had, and we'll get into it, but you had Wu and you had Tribe release on the same day, and people were getting up in arms about, Nas and Jay-Z releasing, a few hours apart. I mean, at the same exact time, you had, what an established, certified hip hop act and this new up and coming powerhouse that had just really took the culture by storm. And then a week later, Doggy Style. I mean, so it's like, and that was just in 1 month of 1993. And, so that there was so many, quality releases. And then, I mean, just the people, you're talking about LL released in there, Queen Latifah released in this year. I mean, you're talking Ice Cube did some work with, the Lynch Mob, but you're just talking about like people who are, on television now, who are, movie stars and TV stars,
yeah.
and, literal icons in the culture, So
very, very interesting to see at this point here with 93. Yo MTV Raps by far was certainly making its mark as being, the premier, I guess, showcase, that was on cable TV.
Yeah, I mean, in 93, hip hop was big business. It was really starting to become like, you fresh off the heels of The Chronic and, You Can't Touch This, and I mean, like all these. I mean, I'm using that just because it was just such a huge record. Like, so like, big business. They started to see, it's some money out here. These it was starting to go away from independent labels and going more to the, corporations buying up independents. Loud had been backed by Sony BMG at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Jive had been backed by Sony. Def Jam was getting backed by Sony.
Polygram.
Yeah. Which would later become Universal. So you were getting all these releases from these formerly independent companies, but on major labels. with major distribution.
Well, so let's start just by talking about just the beginning of the year and guess how things started to unfold. So January 20th, of course, Bill Clinton was sworn in, and for all intents and purposes, he was characterized as a man of the people, but not only white people, but especially black people. He ate at McDonald's. He
went on Arsenio.
He played the sax. He fashioned himself somewhat as a guy with a little bit of soul with him. So he had infiltrated our culture in a way just because people were looking at him like he was, the down. He was down for the cause. when in actuality, I mean, when you look at some of the things that he signed off on that we're still trying to, as far as prison reform, the war on drugs, prison reform, a lot of the things that he signed off on definitely wasn't woke or for the people, meaning black people. So I think he was able to pull the wool over a lot of people's eyes just because he was a happy-go-lucky guy from Arkansas, but he had a way with words and he had a way with doing that. But
he definitely had the gift of gab.
Yeah, so it definitely defined that time just because coming off the heels of Reagan and Bush, Reaganomics and Iran Contra and all the things that happened with that.
New taxes. And then, 6 weeks later, new taxes.
Yeah, right. So it was like people almost, it was like when Obama got in office, but like on steroids, where it was like, we finally got somebody for us, and it's like, no.
Nah, not really.
Yeah, not exactly. He
may try to tell us.
Yeah, he may not hate your guts, but here's what they think about you. If you could really, look at what he did, his actions spoke louder than his words.
The advent of the super predator.
Oh man, exactly.
Yeah.
So when you look at the beginning of the year and him being sworn in, and I think that defined a lot. Like I said, like people, they like after like 92 being such a crazy year with the riots and everything, and people just feeling like they weren't being represented well. I think he represented a way of kind of letting your guard down a little bit, in a sense, and maybe thinking that maybe there was some change on the horizon. So when we start with that and we look at a voice that was starting to get stronger, like Pac, Pac had went from being someone that was into his artistry, but he was really coming into his own as a
star,
as a revolutionary in terms of like his message. And Strictly for My Niggas comes out. The images that he's putting together was so 90s from
keep your head up with the Carl Kanai.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just
that damn hat with the little tie on it at the top.
But just like some of the stuff that he was saying really was just like high energy. Like, okay, let's let this guy speak his mind because he really might have something to say. Holla if you hear me. I mean, just in your face.
And the video, the image, if you never saw it, it speaks volumes. It really speaks to like what a lot of what's going on now.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously people still didn't hear him.
Right.
But like just the juxtaposition on that album alone, you got Holla If You Hear Me, you got I Get Around, you got Keep Your Head Up.
Yeah.
So it just showed you like the complicated person that we would later see, like the multiple sides of the individual, that he wasn't just one thing or one way.
Right.
You know, he was a multifaceted, you know, very complicated and complex individual, but supremely talented. Like, I can only imagine, you know, had he not been taken, what he would be doing right now.
Right. It would be,
you know, it would be Twitter beefs and you know, he might be a senator or some shit. I mean, like you
who knows?
While having Twitter beef, you know, with, you know, young Dolph. I don't know. just kind of like, you know.
So yeah, it was definitely good, like I said, to have someone that was just like a real person, in a sense that he was multifaceted. He wasn't just one way all the time. And like I said, with the Clinton administration, you know, taking the reins over and really getting in there, it was important for guys like Cube and Pac, and, you know, a lot more of the people that we're about to speak about to really be able to get that platform.
Yeah. Well, let's start there though. Let's talk about some of our who we thought were the best artists of 1993.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll go first, man. I mean, there's one guy in particular. Speaking of Pac, this is one of his cohorts and someone that still rides for him to this day.
Oh, hold on, before you get into it, we doing our top 5 artists from 1993. Are we going reverse order?
Yeah, we'll do reverse.
All right, so you do your number 5. I'll do my number 5.
Okay. So yeah, like I said, speaking of Pac, and speaking of someone that was not afraid to be themselves, coming straight out of Illtown, New Jersey. This is somebody that I saw firsthand take his talents and put them right in the forefront of hip hop. And you know, he had a little bit of a chip on his shoulder just because of the New Jersey thing, not necessarily being New York, and, you know, just like, you know, don't get it twisted. Like, we get busy down here too, type of thing. And it was good to see. I could totally relate to what he was doing and saying, based off of the fact that being in Virginia, we didn't quite have the voice that someone in DC or Philly or New York might have had. So it was cool to see Tretch, who was my number 5 for this, as far as you know, for him to come through and for him to he was just
supremely skilled.
Yeah, he was like a Dominique Wilkins type, and I say that with the utmost respect for Neek in the way that you know, somewhat of a people's champ. Yeah. And, you know, anybody that knows anything about Neek, they know he really wasn't someone to play with. Like, we can go ahead and get some jokes off a little bit, but when it's time to stop joking, it's time to stop joking right now, immedially.
Yeah.
That's
was wanted with they call him Tretch, you know.
That's exactly what Tretch exuded.
Hold on, in multiple years, this dude walked around with a machete.
Yeah.
He walked around with a machete, a bat, a chainsaw. On the cover of 1903, he's holding the chainsaw.
Yeah.
And you know,
the chain still remains
before Eminem. Yeah.
The chain still remains too, by the way.
Still remains.
With the chain and the lock and everything. So he was just someone, again, that just dominated just with his presence. And again, like, it was all good. We can make these, you know, songs for the radio and songs for BET videos and all that, but as soon as I'm ready to stop playing and, you know, the jokes is over, that's it. No more jokes.
Yo, and the wordplay was so crazy. I mean, he just like verbally.
Yo, I'm still trying to see what a planet where all the women look like Janet. Damn it! Like,
yeah.
If that planet exists, like, I would like to take a peek into that.
Yo, on a hip hop anthem, this like factory. But on a hip hop anthem, this boy said, "You put your heart in a part that spreads apart, and you forgot that I forgave when you had a spark.
Yeah.
Yo, and that's on the fun song.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That's not even on like that wasn't even on no serious joint. But I mean, just the effortlessness in which he just put words and phrases together was just, you know, and many of MCs have come along have said that he was definitely somebody that they look to and borrow from, and you know, just kind of patted himself. M was one of the first people.
Yeah, they gave him major props.
Yeah,
I thought that was always
Redman, Joe Budden.
Yeah,
you know, so it's always dope to see, like he's still nice, like they don't really make music as much as they used to, but like I seen something and he was just rhyming and it was still effortless, and it was just like, yo, this is just a matter of the content. The skill didn't go away. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and one of the best phrases still to this day, written on your kitten. Salute to him for that, because I mean, if you're writing on the kitty, you're doing something right.
Yeah, it's yours.
It's yours.
It's sealed and delivered. You know what I mean?
So definitely salute to, of course,
video for that John too.
Vin Rock. But yeah, it's on. Like I remember when that video used to come on and it just had like that intro. Yeah, oh man, you should run to the TV to watch that. Yeah,
man.
So again, man, that's my guy, Tresh. That's who I got as my number 5, my top 5.
Okay, so so for my number 5, we stand in the same state, we stand in the same crew. That flavor unit, I got the Queen LITI FAH in command.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, Queen Latifah, 1993, Black Rain.
Yeah,
one of her best work. But it just had gems on there from, of course, UNITY, which became an anthem, you know, for just women and just equality. Something that could probably be played now and be just as effective.
Mm-hmm. But speaking of Tretch, he was he was on Coochie Bang.
Yeah.
So nice little Ill Town collaboration there.
Yeah, man. But give me 5 on the Black Hand side. Just Another Day was on that album.
Mm-hmm.
But 1993 was also for Queen Latifah, Living Single.
Yeah.
I mean, this was her getting her real acting break, you know, to get her own show.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, with an all-black cast, which was, you know, pretty major,
mm-hmm.
you know, at the time. You know, shit is still major today. But I mean, you know, she carried that show. You know, I mean, there were definitely some dope supporting characters, but it was dope to see because it was hip hop culture, but in an everyday setting. Like, they weren't rappers, they weren't, you know, b-boys, they weren't, you know, she did, you know, run a hip hop, you know, style magazine, but it was about, you know, her relationships and interactions with her and her friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's what made the show dope. And you really got to see her personality. You got to see, you know, what it's like to grow up hip hop, because at that point we hadn't really seen, hip hop was still a young man's game, and we had only seen people on screen portrayed in hip hop as kids. So to see them as
mm-hmm.
grown adults living, you know, young adults living, you know, everyday lives, but still with that hip hop swagger, it's commonplace now, but in 1993 that was, you know, fairly rare. So along with the music and, you know, the TV show, she definitely, you know, and that would just be the, you know, the jump off point for everything else. Plus she was, you know, executive producing everything for Flavor Unit.
And let me say this. I mean, we now know that, I mean, obviously Fox News and Fox is, you know, maybe two different entities in themselves, but she helped usher in, you know, such shows, you know, I mean, to be honest, such shows as New York Undercover, you know, that was something that you know, her success, Martin's success on Fox helped usher in as well. When you look at hip hop culture and Black culture being represented on the TV screen, you know, she, again, like I said, her and Martin really made it cool for networks like Fox to take a chance on certain shows and
absolutely,
you know, allow for certain people to be portrayed in like authoritative and like professional manners that we just weren't used to seeing. So again, you know, that can't be understated, her impact not only on the mic but also just all the things that she's done behind the scenes and in front of the camera too. So she's definitely worthy of such a high acclaim. So that's a salute to you, Philmatic, for recognizing her, and salute to Dana Owens, you know.
Yeah. Real name, yo, who brings the flavor on that drink? That's that's still like
that's a dope drink.
Yeah. All right, so who you got at 4?
Man, so again, I mean, there's so many people. It's really tough to even narrow it down, but I wanted to do this in a way to kind of highlight some of the unsung, because there's some obvious people that we could always talk about, but Buckshot, man.
Yeah. Buckshot. See, I originally had him at 5, and it was going back and forth with him and Queen.
But yeah, so we'll just go ahead and just talk about him for a moment. His impact in terms of him being someone that represented Brooklyn, which we always talk about when it comes to just the place where MCs are born and where it's just a breeding ground for it. You know, he's just someone that exudes that whole, you know, just that whole thing. No matter how tall or short he was, it didn't matter, just because he had such a colossal presence on the mic, and you know, he was just, you never really heard anybody messing with Buckshot.
No smoke was wanted.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there wasn't a whole, you know, there were some things that, you know, that may have been slung out there subliminally, but for the most part, like, nah, like, you even to this day, you don't really hear a whole lot about you know, Buck being tested and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, to just give him props, definitely had probably 4 of the dopest songs. Shout to the beat miners as well, but 4 of the dopest songs of the entire year, and that actually poured into the next year. You know, like, you know,
when open. And the original version was crazy. Yeah. And just to remix it and make that classic.
Yeah.
And you do the same thing with Buck 'Em Down.
Yeah, Buck 'Em Down. I mean, how many MCs? So, and then Who Got the Props? So it's just, and Who Got the Props? That's one of my favorite videos from there too. Like the imagery in there.
Yeah.
Just stellar. So again, you know, just someone that much like Tretch, like we were saying, is just somebody that just you know, a nice guy, nice person, but at the same time, like, very serious about his craft and about his crew as well, making sure that he was independent and making sure that his crew was on, and he you know, it went down like this. You know,
little nigga snuck through the door.
And you know,
and they do have Smith and Wesson do get their first chance to shine.
Yeah. So yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, but that just having the early formation of the Boot Camp Clique and Duck Down Records, and what they will become, and I mean, this was no social media. They had a movement that you know we're I'm sure we're going to talk about another movement in a minute, but their movement was one of the illest because it was organic. One, it was 100% independent, you know, until later on when they got their big deal, but it was independent, it was organic. They were selling merch out of the CD covers, you know, you could call the number, and it was just like I can only imagine what they would like. Like a lot of people love Dipset for how their movement was. This was Dipset before Dipset. I mean, just that they were New York City. They were the image of New York City in 1993. When you saw with the Timbs and the hoodies and just that 80-man clique, and it was just like, yo, that's why they never got this. You didn't want problems with them dudes. You seen them videos, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and then Ruck and Rock, all them dudes look like they'll hurt you real fucking bad. Like, so
we actually had a Tissue and the Tape alumni, Brian Coleman, shout to Reem, who facilitated that conversation.
That deal.
But yeah, Check the Technique is well documented in there. When you look at 1993, when you look at just the 90s in general and underground hip hop, how influential Boot Camp Click was, but also just the album itself, Into the Stage, and just how it was a nice mix between all the things that were going on as far as the big blockbuster hip hop releases, and then you had that was more of a avant-garde type of deal where I liken it to like having a movie house flick where
Grindhouse, yeah,
exactly, like it's something to where it's specific to a type of genre, subgenre within the genre. And, those that know, and then there's people that absolutely could tell you every Jay-Z lyric, every Biggie lyric, and they've never really sat down and just sat with Into the Stage at all. That's a thing.
Yeah, no doubt. But shout out to Rick G's. Because
for his money, this is the
Into the Stage.
This is the GOAT.
Yeah, me and him have had like conversations about this. Just the way that it sounds like 1993. Like it just is. It sounds grimy and it sounds like dense, and it's like funnel. It sounds like the way that they mixed it is totally different. Like the beat miners were nothing else I've ever heard sounds like this album. Not even the later. I don't know if they did it intentionally or if it was just how it came out. But all the other boot camp projects from Smith and Wesson to the Fab Five, nothing sounds like how Into the Stage sounds. Just like that, especially like when I got that doom, doom, like it's just like so bass heavy but dense at the same time. It's crazy. But how many MCs?
Mm-hmm.
That's my one as far as like that album. When that sample of KRS and just the bounce on it, great album, man.
And when you really think about it, like we look at Buck as always looking at him as an adult, but he was super young. Like he was around this time, late teens, early 20s. Around that time, as far as when they recorded, and then when this was out, I mean, he just carried himself like a like a mature individual.
Yeah,
that's what I always mean about him. Like he
reminded me like how he carried himself like how Rakim, like dead serious, even though I'm smiling. Like he was not with the shits. Like
So yeah, man. Salute to him. I definitely had to include him in the guys that we're recognizing in '93. What about you, man? Who's your next person?
'93, man. This one was difficult because he was part of another 80-man clique, but by far in 1993, METHOD, man. Like Method Man was that guy. Like, I mean, it would really you would see it also later in '94, but in 1993 he was the star of the Wu-Tang Clan. Like, as much as all those dudes were individuals and had their own moments to shine, like from the standpoint of having his own solo song basically on their debut album, to that being like the a huge single for them, to just being for women. Like I seen girls, like he did an in-store and girls like lose their shit when this dude, walks in, like start crying like on some Michael Jackson shit. Like it was amazing to see, like, and I can't imagine being him, going from, slinging on the block to like having, girls damn near pass out when they see you.
Mm-hmm.
So but like his flow on like every song that was on 36 Chambers, all of the features they did, like they had to join with No Hooks with Shaq, and all the other joints that he did. He was just the brightest star in a room full of stars. So for that alone, of having fat bags of skunk and White Arrow dubs, I mean, and you could see, and you can see the star quality on screen in the Method Man video. You could just see like he was like depending. It doesn't really matter who you think is the better one. It's hard to argue that he wasn't the most, star ready.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to put it. He had that charisma. I think they all, in their own right, if you look at the nine brothers that are in the principals of the group, I think they all had their own different type of charisma, but his is probably the most palpable.
Yeah, one. It was ready for pop consumption. Like, and Def Jam took it and ran with it, and he became a huge star to the point where he's doing, a lot of the people we've talked about so far are, legit actors,
Mm-hmm.
to have legit acting credits. Queen Latifah's, Oscar nominated.
Right.
Meth's on HBO, in a serious role.
Yeah.
I mean, so.
And then even now you look at the show that he does, the lip sync, or the battle show.
I'm drawing the blank, but the rap battle where celebrities rap battle.
Yeah, so I'm like, man, he's still going. That charisma, man, is not something that you can teach.
Yeah.
So, man, salute to.
And he tore down Sway with Black Thought.
Yeah, he did. He did, definitely. So yeah, man, can still go. All right, so moving on with the list. I got 2. You got 2 so far. I got Tretch and Buckshot. You got the Queen and Meth. I'm just gonna take it to well, this was a tough one just because there's so many people that we wanted to highlight, but when we look back at 93, and we may have a mutual one or two of these, but it was the year of Snoop Doggy Dogg.
Oh, no doubt.
And for there's a lot of people that still have never listened to the Chronic that could recite Doggy Style from top to bottom, but they've never heard the Chronic.
Yeah, when you told me that, I had to think about it, and I was like, "Yo, that's wild to me." But I asked a couple people, and you are correct in that. Like, and I'm like, how? Like, like that's like almost like the that's like the prequel almost.
Well, it's like for like a Star Wars reference, like it's like Empire Strikes Back is Doggy Style, and then the Chronic is Star Wars: A New Hope. It's like, yeah, okay, like the first, whatever you want to say, episode 4 or whatever. Like, yeah, you definitely need to watch that to really get it, but you could just watch Empire Strikes Back and be like mesmerized by it. True. And I think that same thing kind of happens with Doggy Style. It's like it was so good by itself, most people didn't even care to even know about the backstory if they didn't have to. Like it wasn't imperative for people to get into it like that. And there were so many it came out. I remember it came out right around Thanksgiving. Like I think that Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and my cousin, it was Black Friday, and she was visiting, and she's like, "Yo, we gotta go to the mall. I gotta get this new Snoop Doggy Dogg record." And she's like, not a hip hop fan like I was. So I was offended. I'm like, why are you so pressed to get this album? Like, like, what's your favorite song on the Chronic? And I remember asking her that. She was like, what's that? I was like,
oh,
what?
Man down.
I said, what? She's like, what? I mean, what's that? What's the Chronic? I was like, oh, sweetie.
Oh, yeah, with the sweetie.
Yeah, I was like, you might want to listen to that first before you get into this album. And she was like, maybe I'll get around to it. And then we ended up going to the mall as a family, and, you know, she got that or whatever. But long story short, I mean, she didn't really need to listen. Like, the Doggy Style was that good that when we were listening to it, I was like, yeah, I guess. I guess you were right. Like, maybe you don't need to listen to it. But yeah, it just, like, you want to talk about charisma and someone that was just a flat out star. It was young Calvin. You know, and as we're seeing now, much like the people that we've mentioned before, you know, he's just the star of stars.
It's amazing to see the transformation of Snoop Dogg from being one of the most feared people in America to being America's sweetheart. Like, I've seen him on ESPN. He's been on ESPN, TBS,
you name it,
VH1, all these different channels. And he's not rapping at all. He has a gospel album right now. Yeah,
it wasn't like half bad.
No, he was on the BET Awards. He did some tracks from Doggy Style, and then you know, did a little mini intermission and came back and did gospel songs.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And he's also done a reggae album, and he's done like a throwback 70s kind of album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he's definitely, like I said, like there's so much that we could talk about with him, but I wanted to make sure that he was just mentioned like that, man. Who else you got, man?
All right, so my number 3, we could just keep it moving, was your number 5. I had Tretch because I just thought, like, Hip Hop Array was such a huge ass song that it resonated with it made its way to Middle America, you know, where people that had no business and had no idea what they were saying were going, hey ho.
You just drop that record and people do people sway to left and right with that.
It was the precursor to the swag surf.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
So it was that big of a song. I remember, you know, being in 8th grade in the beginning part of 93, and people doing it, like, and having no idea who Naughty by Nature was. Like, just knowing
album.
Just knowing the hey,
you know, like, that's like they're on their 3rd album, like they've given you such joints as OPP, like
like what?
An Uptown Anthem, and you're telling me like, oh, this is your introduction to them.
Yeah, but that's hilarious to me that's the introduction. You know what I mean? And you know, because that joint dropped February. So like it was my last year in middle school, right before I was about to start high school. But yeah, I remember specifically, like, you know, a teacher going, hey ho, and doing
that was a classic moment, Def Comedy Jam, where Martin came out and they were doing that, and he pointed to the girl, he said, hey ho. And, you know, and then they did the, you know, the standard fall out of your seat, roll on the floor. That's where rolling on the floor, laughing my ass off came
from Def Jam. Yeah, but definitely shout out to Tretch, man, because he was just, you know, just so good, you know. And Queen Latifah was on Sleeping on Jersey. On 19. So, you know, just to bring it back. So that was my number 3. Who you have at number 2?
Phife Didog, man.
Phife Didog, rest in peace, baby.
Yeah, no, definitely rest in peace. And, you know, anybody that's listened to this show before that knows us knows how we feel about Tribe and their impact on us. Pretty much anybody that we can have a real Tribe conversation with, has ended up being a lifelong friend.
Yeah. Shout out to my brother B Johnson.
That's right, man. That's one of the reasons why he will forever be my dude, is because in college, man, we stayed, in the same hall. And even though everybody claims that they love hip hop and rap, and yeah, it's true, I guess you do in a sense. But he was the one person that stuck out to me because when either I would play Tribe or we would talk about Tribe, his eyes lit up the same way mine did. And that's why that's my guy, because we could just relate in a way that most people couldn't.
And that's how we bonded. I mean, because like going back the same way how I was mentioning, the early part of 93 was Naughty by Nature. The later part of 93, I was a freshman in high school when me and B Johnson first met. And that's one of the ways that we bonded was over Midnight Marauders.
No question.
So that was like the beginning of our friendship, just a couple months into, the formative years, freshman in high school. Yeah. Our crew of friends who we're all still friends to this day, one of the things that bonded us was Tribe. I mean, shout out to Walt and the homie Ron, and so it was just how we bonded, man.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so I mean, again, I mean, we can't give Phife enough love, enough credit for his influence on who we've been, over the past, 30 years.
For the assassin knocking fleas out your collar.
But yeah, someone, these questions come up every now and again. What do y'all think about this? What about that? And I think it was Crook's Corner that's coming out weekly now, I guess, as a question of the week, or question on Twitter and whatnot.
He might be doing them Jones daily now.
He might be
because he linked up with XXL, I think.
Right. And of course, one of the ones, right around the honoring of Prodigy was, who got the best opening lines in hip hop, man. We had an episode about that, but you can't really get too far down the list before you mention Phife Dawg, and that's something that he always brought to the table.
And Bo knows that.
Yeah.
Even though that's not 93, but I mean that's just a classic.
But then it's just a testament to him. And then in 93, just what they were able to do and what they meant to us. That goes without saying, man. Midnight Marauders, favorite album, Tribe, favorite group, and Phife, just indelible. Won't ever be forgotten.
Well, I might have to do a punch in, man. God damn it, man. Oh man, let's go on to the next one, man.
Yeah,
before I start eye sweating out here. All right, so my number 2 was and I didn't do this on purpose, but it just kind of worked out that way. Yeah. Tupac. Yeah. And for all the things that we mentioned earlier, he was really starting to become Tupac. He had already released Tupacalypse Now, and Brenda's Got a Baby was such a groundbreaking achievement for him, and Trap was a dope song. But these are the songs that would start to define him. Two of hip hop's greatest songs, Keep Your Head Up and I Get Around, were birthed in they were released in 1993 on this album, and they were just they were hits right out the gate, but they transcended hip hop culture and became pop culture. Keep Your Head Up became the slang. It was on the bootleg t-shirt of the month, and I Get Around for that matter. I mean, so
I definitely had one.
Yeah, so it was just one of those things, and those really made him into a star. Like that lasting image of him with the striped Karl Kani on. I remember Marvin Gaye used to saying to me, "Yo, this is him coming right fresh off of Poetic Justice, off of Juice." I mean,
Yo, real quick, man. You mentioned the bootleg T-shirts, and anybody that grew up in the late '80s, early '90s, like you remember short sets, of course.
Oh yeah, the Bart Simpson
Bart,
shits.
Bart Simpson. I mean, and then they started to get into the sports apparel a little bit without a license. Don't please believe it wasn't licensed.
What's that?
When you
had license thing you speak of,
right? When you had your socks, White Sox joint or whatever. But the bootleg T-shirts, in '93, just mentioning Pop,
Carl Canal bootlegs, and
but like
Boss.
his joint, like his Keep Your Head Up, the Tupac joint, or like I Get Around joint, like that if you had that, like you was moving units.
Oh yeah, that was Dope Boy Couture, yo.
Man, you was.
You had the legit one that he had at that time. Yeah, you was a bad motherfucker, man.
Yeah, you was moving. But I mean, just back to those shirts. Like when you look at like, I guess they would sell them. You see them now still, like some of the really bad shirts at like concerts in the parking lots. The guys sell them for $5 or whatever. But like that really does go to show, like, and it's kind of being retro now, but like that was the start of MC/rappers becoming like comic book heroes. In a sense. Where the merchandise and their likeness, being able to wear it and represent them, was a thing, and it was something that people were looking forward to purchasing.
Well, one, to your point, technology didn't lend itself to the quality T-shirt, so it was a lot of Witty Hutton T-shirts out there in the streets because it was just so expensive to even do that. You had to do it in mass. I could do a one-off T-shirt now, and in a matter of minutes, and if I really want to, I can do this shit from the house,
right?
So it's just one of those things. But in '93, it just wasn't realistic. I remember and it was always, for me, it was always so hard to get Carl Canai because all the shit was so big. Pause. It was just ridiculously oversized because that was the style. And then I was already a little dude, so just trying to find one that was like I was okay with it being big, but just it couldn't be a nightgown. I mean, so just finally finding one that fit, that was legit. It was a good feeling. It wasn't. I wanted to Keep Your Head Up one, but that was, like you said, that was if you had that joint, you was the man in them streets. So, you was literally moving weight.
Yeah, for sure.
But just Tupac in 1993, man. He just had such a hell of a year. I mean, that album would be the launching pad for everything that would come after it. That was the beginning of the early formalization of Thug Life, which he would become synonymous with. It would the name of the group with his brother, and of course the Tats, and which would eventually, his connection back to Tretch, like that was just his guy. So it was just, you would just see the star. You already, like I said, you already started, because the year before he was coming off of Juice and Poetic Justice. So it was just a matter of him just taking the next step with the music.
Yeah. So yeah, man, shout to them. We each have one left in our just most influential, just favorite artists from 1993. Yeah, I struggle with this because it's just like there's just so many, but I was like, well, I mean, I might as well just give my man Cube some props, because when is it wrong to give Ice Cube when you're talking about classic albums, and you talk about, like, who was able to put together a string of just great albums in a row. And this was the Ice Cube that we saw that latched on to this was the Bootsy Collins / Sir Jinx slash,
big shout out to Sir Jinx, man.
Yeah, but just George Clinton, version of Ice Cube that we ended up seeing create a different type of sound. Like it was G-Funk, but it was definitely from that George Clinton.
Yeah, this was Lethal Injection Ice Cube. Really though, and
yeah, and I mean he had kind of gotten away from, like, he's like, all right, like I'm gonna leave y'all dudes alone to get my money. Like, I think on the previous albums you saw where he still just wasn't happy with how everything ended. As far as with the group and everything. And I think we started to see him make his way, from away from that to becoming such a mogul in a sense. Like he took steps towards really becoming a guy that we know today.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, so
he was heavy in the movies. He was filming in '93. He was filming Glass Shield, which was like his first. Yeah. He had done other serious roles. I mean, obviously, Boys in the Hood was his first movie, so I mean, there were serious roles, but
yeah.
In '93, he had a quick cameo in CB4, but and he was coming off a Trespass, but then he was filming Glass Shield in '93, which would drop in '94, and then just in '95 then was like his real breakout year where he would do Friday and Higher Learning.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like you just saw the transition, I guess.
Yeah. In '93, from an article I read, he was actually writing. He was writing Friday. Yeah. As he was recording for the Lethal Injection album.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, man. And you see what he's doing now. I mean, he's someone that always was into sports and whatnot, and
doing the big three, which is dope. Giving these dudes another outlet after their NBA careers.
If you ever wanted to see how some of these YMCA battles or how jail ball might be,
my man Crypto Nate wasn't with the shits.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. Cube, man, wanted to give him a shout along with the other people that we mentioned, man. Who you got, man, as we go towards another subject?
You had him at 3. I don't know how you had him that low, but I had to go with the SNOOP, man.
Yeah.
DOGGY, the DOGG.
Yeah.
I mean, 1993, like the anticipation for Doggy Style was incredible. One, coming off the Chronic and all that, but I remember What's My Name being like such a big deal, and then having the animation where he transformed from a dog to Snoop, which was like the only other place you had ever seen anything like that for real was Black or White. So Michael Jackson. Mm-hmm. So Michael Jackson and Snoop, he was basically doing what the biggest star in the world was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that in and of itself was like, yo, this is gonna be crazy. And I was never the biggest fan of What's My Name until later on, and I liked it more and more. And I played it the other day. I played the whole album and was rocking, like singing the Nasty Dog. No, but like that was the draw. That was the little hook to get the casual fan in there. But everything on Doggy Style was just phenomenal. Like it was crisp. To me it's a perfect album. Like it and it's probably a top 3 debut all time. For me. Just phenomenal work. I mean, the Shiznit, which is still probably my favorite Snoop song. The skits, the little light jabs, not too heavy on the features, although Corrupt And Daz definitely had some standout moments on there on Bitches and Niggas, Ain't No Fun, and Doggy Dog World, but had Malik on there, who was the only dude with, which I always wonder how that came about. But Illegal, which is another group that dropped in '93, Little Malik from Illegal was on Pump Pump, which was the last song on Doggy Style. And shout out to everybody that had the tape, because for whatever reason, for some reason they hadn't mastered how to format CDs. So at to this point, up until about 2003, probably CDs could only be 74 minutes long. They didn't know how to format them any other way. So if an artist made songs, the albums would never be more than 74 minutes. And if they were, they would cut songs off. But those songs would still be on the cassette. So a song, and it's still like that even on streaming services, the song G's Up, Hoes Down doesn't appear on the CD.
Yeah.
It's only on the cassette. It's not even on streaming services, which I just thought they should, even though the skit is on there that precedes the song. The song itself is not there. But so that was, and even that, which was supposed to be a throwaway or a bonus, and that song was fire. So, they turned Murder Was a Case, they turned that into a movie a year later and then made a soundtrack for it. So they took one single, made a mini movie, and then made a soundtrack for the mini movie. Death Row was just printing money at this point. And he was the catalyst, he was the flagship artist. I mean, as integral as Dre was with the production, Daz had started doing beats, but Snoop was the face of Death Row. He was the voice of Death Row. And
I got 2 words for you, man. I'm innocent.
Oh yeah, and then there was that. In the middle of being the biggest star in music, having the #1 debut with Doggy Style. Doggy Style is, if it's not diamond, is very close to diamond status. But at the time, Snoop was also on trial for murder, which that up in itself is like, he had Johnny Cochran as his lawyer though. So as my brother said, he was innocent because Johnny worked his magic, and maybe he could have very well been innocent. We don't know.
Yeah. But speaking of just that album, just really quick, just some of the facts about it. Like you said, definitely diamond worldwide. In the States, peaked at about 7 million. First week numbers, roughly about 800,000 physical copies. Not that he shipped 800,000.
No, bought.
Yeah, these were purchased in people's possession.
#1 on Billboard.
Yeah,
#1 on the Billboard Top 200. So let's be clear.
For a hip hop release to do that in 1993, I mean, that was just unheard of. And like you said, it just catapulted him to a different stratosphere. Like, people just weren't used to rap stars being that popular. Yeah. Like, not that, like, first week 800,000 in 1993. That's like, like Madonna. That was reserved for a certain ilk of pop music. And for him to do that like that was just unheard of, and it just really represented the stranglehold that Dre really had, coming off of the Chronic and then going directly into this album. It really showed, and it's just like the little nuanced stuff in the albums that Dre did and that Snoop did, from the skits to just the way that they sequence stuff, to the cover of Lottie Dottie, the nod to Slick Rick.
Hey man, just on that alone, that was and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm 99% sure that is the first time a hip hop artist covered another hip hop artist's song. Like
it's pretty close, man. I mean,
I'm talking about like not in a live show,
not
Big Bang Hank Jack Grandmaster Caz's lyrics.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about acknowledging this is my guy Slick Rick's song. I'm going to rap it and throw my own little flavor on it.
And I mean, he turned it into a smoothed out G-Funk like rendition, because I mean, when you think about when you think about Lottie Dottie, like, and you think about what Doug and Ricky did, like, it, that was kind of up tempo. It was acapella to it in a sense, but it still still had a beat behind it. So it was kind of up tempo in the way he just smoothed it out.
But just a couple more things about Doggy Style, because we kind of jumped the gun, because I guess we were going to talk about albums, but I mean, since we here now, shit, the cover is iconic for created by his cousin Joe Cool. I remember that being a little controversial. They would put like stickers over the cartoon dog tail peeking out of the doghouse. But I mean, everything was done to the illest effect. I remember getting the vinyl of Doggy Style, and because it came out holiday season, as you said, like the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. The vinyl came out in December, and it was a double vinyl, and there was a limited edition one there was a red album and a green album, and it had a sticker on it that said "Merry Motherfucking Christmas," which from Death Row Records, which was just the illest thing of that. And it was just, they sold so many records. I just gotta point one last thing out. There's actually 19 tracks on there when you count the skits. If you count it as it is like that. But of the songs on the album, Gin and Juice, which is iconic video, Lottie Dottie, Murder Was the Case, G's and Hustlers, Doggy Dog World. Those 5 songs, when this album came out in 1993, Power 99 had a 9-song countdown, the Power 9 at 9. Those 5 songs all 5 of them were actually in the countdown, played on the radio. They had to, work magic to get the edits out. But I remember Gin and Juice being number 1, Lottie Dottie being number 2, G's and Hustlers being like number 5. And then it was like Doggy Dog World was like the newest one of the songs that was at 9. And then What's My Name was still on the countdown. It was just a ridiculous thing. They had, at one point, they had 6 of the 9 songs at one point for like a month. You talking about 5 days a week for a month. 6 of the 9 songs on 6 of the 9 on the countdown were from Doggy Style. So that was just in Philly. I mean, that not even saying how it was in California.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, and then I came down here in the summer all through the following year, because it banged that whole 94. It finished I think it finished 94 in like either like 3 or 4 on the Billboard Top 200. So it was just an impactful album where where you don't see that kind of longevity these days. Music's very consumable, it's very disposable.
But it was also one of those ones where people have purchased it multiple times in their life.
Yeah. I've owned several copies.
I own several copies.
I just told you that I had the cassette, and then I turned around and bought the vinyl, and that was just in 1993.
Right.
So that's not even counting the multiple CDs I had.
Right.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, so we used the opportunity to talk about some of the most influential people, and also talked about the
Suits, man. Nasty
so,
dog.
yeah,
Doggy dog.
doggy dog. Some of their songs and albums and stuff. So I'm just gonna talk about 5 joints that I can't leave behind when you talk about 1993. Like if you tell me I gotta play 5 joints for somebody to really give them a good
5
idea.
albums or 5 songs?
5 songs. So no particular order. Doggy Dog World is by far, that's one of my favorite records ever, man. Like I told you why. Like even when you just get down to the point with the dramatics, like just like you know how soul music is, and like when they're really trying to convince you about something, they tell it to you and then they tell it to you again. But when they get to that point where he's talking about Snoop and he said, "Talking about you, Snoop," like that's one of my all-time favorite moments in any song, man.
Yo, I was rolling because like when you first told me that, I had it was funny, but like that, and then like now me and the champ, anytime that part come out, we do that, and then we be rolling, be like, yo,
talking about you, Snoop. So that's one of my favorites. I Get Around gets the party going. You'll see me doing the Pac dance.
Yeah.
Anytime that comes on, for sure. Electric Relaxation, definitive song on my soundtrack of my life. Can it be also simple? That just takes me back in a way that a lot of songs don't. And Chief Rocker, one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yeah, man. My list is similar to yours. I had some of the joints that you had.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, but I had Cream, because that's just that music, that soul music from RZA, and then just Ray and Deck they just killed it. I told you about the Alcoholics and how important they were to me in loving hip hop. The song Liquid. Anytime that song right there, just it's one of the songs I listen to probably more than most. And I absolutely thought these dudes were like the most amazing wordsmiths when I heard Liquid. I remember hearing that on Radioactive on Power 99. Shout out to the homie Kobe. Another favorite from 93, I Gotta Get Mine. MC Breed and Tupac. For my money, my favorite all-time Tupac verse. Always got to do my fake limited Tupac impression every time. Keep my mind on my money. But like him in that video, that was like, I think that might have been the first time he mentioned Thug Life was on. I Gotta Get I live a thug life, baby. I'm hopeless, choking on endo, trying to keep my focus. Don't let that bullshit worry me. Fuck the fame. I'm true to the game till they bury me. God gave me game, so I'm hustling. Pull out some liquor for my niggas. Tupac is still struggling. My nigga Breed knew the time.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about that song, neither one of those guys are no longer with us, man.
Yeah.
For vastly different reasons, but the fact remains that they're not. And that song is just one of them things. It's just like, I imagine they're somewhere they're kicking back, talking about how ill that video was. I remember Chief Rock I had, because I jokingly told the champ I was gonna name our kid Lord Chief Rocker #1. That you imagine how well that flew. And then how many MCs we mentioned that just incredible from the Boot Camp Click, and but it's so many songs. I mean, you know 5 is never enough for me, but I mean KRS had some Sound of the Police, and it was just, man, so much classicness. How about some hardcore?
Yeah.
You know.
You mentioned the Lakes, but definitely Make Room is there up there. And we
I got it bad, y'all, with King T.
What?
What's your favorite brew? O-E. What it make you do?
Go pee.
And then well, one of the joints from Doggy Style, you mentioned Doggy Dog World, but Bitches and Niggas, Corrupt, man. Like at this point in 1993, you couldn't tell me Corrupt wasn't, the best MC.
I mean, it was to the point where like he was getting props from people everywhere. Like I remember Big was on the couch and they asked him like, who are some of the guys that that you look up? Corrupt, like, like he was that, he was spitting to the point where he was getting that type of recognition from everybody.
Slow flow, D-O-double-G.
Yeah.
See these other fools, but you can't see me, nigga. Yeah. Yo, like he was just so like their whole camp was like just so, their confidence was so high, like they could do anything, and like it showed in the music, and they just killed it.
And the other thing too, just to mention that too, like you realize like what it would take in order for you to be so brazen and so confident out there, especially where everything is depicted as there being so many tough guys. Like everybody wants to prove they're tougher than the toughest, or tougher than whoever. And for them to just be out there and for them to be talking that talk like that, like that's the type of talk that people test you for. And they were just like, yo,
they talked it.
So that always stuck out to me too. That it was like,
now can no click fuck with Def Rizzo. Like it just goes to show you, like to your point, like how powerful they were in not only in music but in the streets. Like I mean, you've seen the documentaries, we've heard the stories. They are who they said they were. I mean, and the fact that that the head of the label was a Blood, and these guys are notorious, Crips, but red and blue make green. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Break of Dawn, you said mentioned that as being like a quintessential hip hop song.
Oh, it's one of those perfect hip hop songs. Like
how did they get
everything beats, rhyme, sample.
Like how did they get that cleared? Like,
yo, like Mike must have fucked with 3 Feet High and Rising. Yeah, no, that is crazy. Like what they were on Tommy Boy, right? Tommy Boy, was that under Sony? No. Because I'm thinking that would be my thinking. Like that would be the only way you could get that cleared. Like
that was probably like some crazy favor for a favor type thing.
Yeah, they had to know somebody. Like maybe he just really just fuck with him.
Yeah, maybe
he like me, myself, and I was like, all right, because I mean, who was using Michael Jackson samples at that time?
Not me. I mean, not like that. Not then. Not like that. So that always made me. At first, I'm like, yo, is that Mike?
Yeah, because when you hear it, you're like, I gotta wonder.
No Drake, no made up joints like Drake. So I'm like, is that Mike?
I got real samples from Mike. No.
But yeah, man, no, so many tracks that we could obviously go over.
Yeah, man, Insane in the Membrane. Down with the King.
Yeah.
Look, man, no shoelaces.
Yeah.
Paint cookies in a plastic bag.
Still don't understand, but I get it.
I mean, it is a vibe. Punk Step Up to Get Beat Down.
Yeah.
Love Me or Leave Me Alone.
Yeah.
Onyx. Shout out to Hank.
What up, Hank?
Yeah, I mean, you can't leave Onyx out of this, because I'm gonna tell you, like I done mentioned all these albums. I don't think I played anything more than Onyx. I remember my brother Gene and my homie Yusuf, they shaved their head, yo, and I used to call them Fredro and Sticky, yo, because they
that whole look though. I mean, even with the Fab Five,
man,
just with that shaved head look, and with Onyx, and even Bokeem Woodbine, at that point, Money was shaving his head. At that point, Money was shaving his head. Like it was
man.
It was a
a
thing.
phenomenon. Barkley.
Yeah, right, exactly. So
MVP Charles Barkley.
Yeah, MVP Charles Barkley in '93. So
yeah, God lied to him though.
But before we head
Shout out
towards
to Don Paxson.
before we head towards the end of this trip down memory lane, we've talked about '93 before, but we just wanted to reiterate it just because we are 25 years just away from that time, but still a lot of that influence and impact is still reigning true. So we wanted to do that with this episode here. But we talked about artists, we talked about obviously some songs, but the next just little segment here, just talking about if I told you, okay, for the month of July, there's only 5 albums that you can listen to from 1993. You can't listen to anything else. I'm going to go ahead and give you my 5 and then you can go with yours. We've mentioned all of these guys pretty much in some form or fashion over the past hour or so. But 1993 would be in there.
Okay.
Doggy Style, which we just talked about, would be in there. Into the Stage would be in there. Into the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers would be in there. And then Midnight Marauder. So, I mean, that gives me a nice mix.
Yeah.
Even if I'm just chilling, I could probably make a playlist out of some of the songs there to so that it's not so raucous and crazy. I could take a couple of the Tribe songs and mellow out to those. I could take a couple of the Wu songs and mellow out to those too, and then still have some of the boom bap that's in there with Enter the Stage. This just a nice mix of songs, I think, within those 5 albums to get me through the month. What about you, man?
I got to give an honorable mention, shout out real quick, the Master A Slaughterhouse, which was one of my favorite joints at the time.
Cheap ass nigga.
Go and purchase it. I ain't do all this work for shit. No, Cheap Ass Nigga, which would be transformed into Born to Roll and would make Ace a star for a time.
Yeah, for sure.
But Cheap Ass Nigga, it was hard as hell. Shout out to Torre because he talked about this, how he loved that joint too. Diggable Planets, man, Reaching was one of the joints that we didn't talk about, but I really, really love that song. I love Mecca Bug. I love Ladybug. Still. Yo.
Yeah.
Wow. But the music itself,
let me ask you this. Why was Rebirth of Slick such a cultural phenomenon? Like for not necessarily, I mean, of course within our culture, but like outside, like why was it such a huge hit?
It was catchy. It was non-threatening because you had so much gangster shit going on all around you, and even the people that weren't really gangster, their music could be perceived as such. Such as like somebody like KRS, who wasn't a gangster per se, but he made aggressive music. You know what I mean? Sound of the Police is aggressive, and Black Cop, those some aggressive ass songs. But Rebirth of Slick was it was jazzy, so it had that right kind of tempo. It had the catchy hook, it had a memorable hook.
Well, yeah, I think that, yeah, definitely. Like I remember people that didn't look like us that were like, "Hey, I'm cool like that."
Yeah,
I'm
funny like that, and then you had that. You had a little bit of something for everybody. You had Ladybug on there for the ladies. You had multiple MCs, so you had all these different flavors on this one record, and it just became a phenomenon, man. And I mean, shout out to them. They won the Grammy for Rebirth of Slick, which is still a dope song, but like just so many other joints that were actually on that album, like Where I'm From is just a lot of dope joints on there. So, but for my actual 5 though, Similar to yours. I had the Alcoholics 21 and over, just because, you know, like you said, make room, only when I'm drunk, liquid, last call, like these songs. It was only 10 songs on the album, but those joints, just I don't drink because of quit bullshit. Like yeah, like it was just so many, like they just were fun, and they were dope MCs, and they just had this chemistry that was infectious. So that was one of my joints. Also staying on the West Coast, Soldier Mischief 93 Till. One of the best, most underrated albums in hip hop. Like those guys didn't get enough credit for their talent as MCs. I don't think they still don't. But when you listen to the flavor that they gave you bars, they gave you different kinds of flows, they told stories. I mean, battle rap, whatever. It was so many different styles on there. But I mean, they had the 93 Till, which is just an amazing song. But That's When You Lost was another joint. I Call Myself the Man. I love that album. Great production from Domino, not to be confused with Ghetto Jam Domino, but
tried to Battle Cat.
Yeah. Shout out to Hyro. And then the other three, man, the three joints you mentioned, right in a row. I go Doggy Style for all the reasons we've mentioned tonight. Into the Wu-Tang, which just hard as hell, man. Just that them dudes, you know, help resurrect the East Coast, because West Coast is really dominating the sound, you know, for the past couple years at this point. And Into the Wu is one of those first albums that brought the gritty East Coast sound back, and RZA's production with, you know, with just the mix of what I will say is the most talented group of MCs ever assembled. I don't think they're the best group. That's a whole nother conversation. Because their work as a group, you know, I think their individual work is better than their work as a group. But 36 Chambers is impeccable. Is, you know, there's only I would say there's only really like one misstep on the whole album. You know, that's the song Tears. I probably would have left that one off. But, you know, even that I could rock with. You know,
I said the beat is still dope on that.
Oh, yeah, it is. That's probably why he just like, yo, I got to use this.
Yeah.
You know,
the one thing, just to add about 36 Chambers that I love too was, like I said, like I was somewhat of a snob back then. So like 8th grade into 9th grade was 93 for us, and
yeah,
I was really coming into my own as far as like becoming what I thought was an authority on my music and my particular taste and the culture. And so whenever I saw someone that was maybe not trying to appropriate it, but definitely was infiltrating something that I found to be sacred, I just wasn't having it. So I would always either put them on the spot, or I would always be looking for something that wasn't necessarily the most popular thing. And 36 Chambers was that nice mix, because of the fact that it was popular, but a lot of people weren't onto it right away.
No, they weren't.
And also going into 94, that like I think the way that it dropped was still kind of quiet in a sense. And then like once the single started to come on the other side of the year,
once Cream released as a single, it was out of here.
Yeah, that's when people really started to get into it. But the thing that I liked was the fact that, like, you know, I always had my Walkman, and, you know, like the girls would be like, yo, you listening to? Like, you know, 36 Chambers. And like, oh, what's that? And then they would listen to it, and they would just like, they couldn't really wrap their heads around it. You know, like it wasn't really lady friendly.
Yeah. See, my experience was similar, but the one thing that's Method Man, like when it hit, it was in the city. It was so ridiculous. Like I said, there were girls with Method Man posters in their lockers at school. I mean, he would like, they might not have knew no other song on 36 Chambers.
Right. That was on one.
that was day one. And like, you know, they was like, I actually knew a girl that didn't know he was like didn't know that Wu-Tang was a group or whatever. She just was like, oh, Method Man. She's like, I bought the Wu-Tang and there was all these other people on there. I'm like, but it was just
well, because that was also unheard of. Like, you got 9 people in the group, and then this one guy has a solo right smack dab in the middle of it. It's like that. I mean, I don't blame her. She probably was really confused.
Yeah, and but I mean, just like those dudes were so like, their branding was phenomenal, because you got all the samples from the Kung Fu flicks. You got you knew who each one of those guys were after listening to that album. Like you would they each had their moments where they stood out, you know, and showed their personality. Like Old Dirty from Shame on a Nigga to RZA on Wu Ain't Nothing to Fuck With.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah, Ray got his shine on Cream, Inspector Deck on Cream, Ghost was on shadow boxing. So I mean, they all had the Jizza on Protect Your Neck, you know, Master Killer on shadow boxing. So they all had their moments where they shine. But it just to bring it full circle, freshman at Central, you know, our graduating class, we do about a number. So our class was 256. So since Wu-Tang dropped in our freshman year, when we originally got assigned a number, that became our thing. So you will still see people to this day, if you follow some of the people that went to school with me, you'll see 256 Ain't Nothing to Fuck With, or they'll have the initials for Ain't Nothing to Fuck With right after, because that was the thing that we would say, like, because it was just so fresh. Like like, I don't know like what group of my friends started doing it, but like it was just Wu-Tang, we just kind of identify with them. You know, we had our little, everybody was their little fake Wu-Tang dude. Shout out to my man Jay who bought RZA fangs.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was like he was all the way in. He was on this Old Dirty slang. You know, he started learning the supreme mathematics. You know, getting his culture ciphers and all that. You know. He means he fucking did. Yo, some of the great skits in 93 too, man. That was one, you know. And my name is Sam Snead.
You better recognize.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man, 1993 again. We just 25th anniversary of all these great moments, all these great times.
And there's so much we didn't even talk about, man. We didn't talk about Scarface, the Ghetto Boys, 8-Ball, MJG.
So we're just gonna actually mention a few things that we some moments that we kind of just remembered happened around that time, just because, again, I mean, this is where you saw art imitating life, and you know, a lot of the things that we that influenced the world also influenced hip hop culture.
Absolutely.
So in no particular order, again, it has to be documented, of course, that Enter the Wu-Tang, 36 Chambers, and Midnight Marauders were released on the same day, November 9th, 1993. I had both. Midnight Marauders definitely got a lot of play before I really was able to get into 36. But needless to say, that's probably one of the best purchasing days I had.
Yeah,
pound for pound. I mean, I don't remember a day that where I've literally listened to both of those albums countless times. You know,
yeah, I would say my hot take is that there is no other release day better than that. When you talk about the quality in terms of hip hop, as far as the quality, because you talk about two, you know, arguably top 10 hip hop albums all time. You know,
you can't say that for any other.
you know how we feel about Midnight Marauders. I mean, that's top 1 for you.
Yeah.
You know, it's top 3 for me. You know, so
yeah. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to say, "Well, no, what about this day, man?"
I mean, there's some days where a lot of shit drop, but
yeah,
to be that high and that high of quality,
yeah, that's definitely that's like the 96 draft or the 2003 draft. Like it's like which one are you picking? But Menace to Society, we mentioned that before, but
straight up Menace
had a lot of influence over a lot of young black men and women. Honestly,
a lot of old dogs out in these streets, man.
Definitely. But yeah, that was May 26, 1993. Doggy Style was, of course, we mentioned that was November 23rd. Man, Michael Jordan retired, which was huge for
October 6th.
October 6th, 1993. Man, Monday Night Raw premiered January 11th.
Yeah, which was crazy. Who's the Man?
Yeah.
Comes out.
Yeah, Who's the Man was that was that summer. I think that was like June 29th.
Yep, which would give us Party and Bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Beginnings of the GOAT. Yeah. What else? I got one for you. You know. Give me a T.O. baby like Chris Webber. I got my Carolina cuts down the Nets.
In New Orleans in the Superdome.
Shout out to Donald Williams.
Yeah, he was the MOP.
Mashing out these posses. April 5th. Early birthday present for the boy.
Yeah, no, that's lovely.
Yeah. And on my birthday, I got my North Carolina championship hat, and I got my first North Carolina jersey. April 9th.
That's love. As you mentioned before, Living Single, that premiered August 22nd, 1993. I mean, just a lot of different moments, man.
Bulls complete their first 3-peat.
Yeah, shot to John Paxson, who you mentioned before. Mike trusted him. Mike was like, "Yo, I will break your face if you don't make this shot."
Martin.
Yeah, Martin. The season finale of season 1 happened, and we found out that it got renewed, and we were going to get more Martin, so that just made it even better.
Oh, every young male in the US of A will appreciate this one. If you were between the ages of 14 and down, September 24th, 1993, Boy Meets World.
Man.
The Topanga.
Yeah. Yeah. Danielle Fisher to this day still BAD.
Yeah. On Girl Meets World, she's because I believe she's the same exact age as us. So she was right in the wheelhouse. So
yeah, nah, she definitely was.
Yeah, just a bad. What else happened? NBA Jam drops.
Yeah, which was a precursor to a lot of what we see now in terms of just the explosion of licensing with the sports teams and being able to have the actual likeness of your favorite player, be to scale to an extent.
The Sixers fuck up the team for years to come by drafting Sean Bradley when they could have had Penny or Chris Webber.
Yeah, they definitely could have put the Magic or the Warriors in a tough bind if they would have selected whoever, if they would have selected Penny instead. So of course they got Sean Bradley instead, who I actually was in an elevator with once, and person asked him what he did, and he said he was a jockey. I thought that was great. This guy is like, how like when you like You see
Sean Bradley's what, 7'6"?
Yeah, 7'6", but like his shoulders were like almost resting on the top of the elevator.
Like he had to be hunched over like Lurch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like his shoulders were basically at the top of the elevator, pretty much. Like it was the weirdest thing. She's like, "Ooh, dog, what do you do?" He was like, "I'm a jockey."
Yo, I would tell you about the dude at the NBA store, at NBA restaurant, Universal. This dude, we at Universal in Orlando. This dude is 7'4", working at the NBA store. I'm like, how? I was like, yo, did you play any kind of pro basketball? No, I did not. I'm like, yo, how? Like you won the genetic lottery. I looked at him like how Martin looked at John Sally and Bad Boys.
Oh yeah,
I was so mad. I wanted to fight, boy. I'm like, yo, how are you 7? Dude was 7'4", and it was funny because we got like souvenir glasses from there.
Yeah,
and they're like daiquiri glasses, so they're these real big joints. So he was like, no, we're not gonna give you these that you drunk out of. We're gonna give you ones that's already boxed up. So he went, and it was on this high ass shelf. So he just reaches up there, and his arm unfolded like almost like a transformer. Like, and he went and got the glasses out. I was like, oh, I was like, see, they came in genetic lottery winner.
Yeah.
But
that should have been for.
Yo, man. Yo, you could be $100 million man, yo.
Yeah, at the very least. I mean, you could have at least
got a couple,
paid off some loans, maybe.
Yeah, man, you could have bought your mama a house or something. But yeah, that was the. But yeah, man, 93 was so great, man. But just like you said, that was the beginning of our years of graduated from middle school, freshman in high school. You know, really started to see some things.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean, do some things.
Yeah.
I mean, live a little.
Live a little, you know.
A little loving touch here and there. I mean, puppy water, as my man Ghost would say.
Yeah, man. So, you know, a lot of growing up and maturing happened in that time.
Shout out to everybody that made 93 special for the boy.
Yeah, no question. Same here, man. Shout out to everybody that's listening now and that rocks with us again. We just wanted to give a tribute to 1993 with this being episode 193 of the Tissue and the Tape podcast.
Yes.
We do have some upcoming episodes with some guests, some unfinished business that we need to get out there. Again, tallyandtwine.com, World of Sports Podcast Network, WRSPN.com. That's right. John Appetit, DJRickG's.com. And, you know, man, you can follow us definitely on social media, Hip Hop 365, at Tissue and the Tape. And, of course, at Philmatic 365 and at Davis Backwards.
Yeah, man.
Phil, as we start to wrap up our 25 our 25th anniversary, I guess, special for 1993. What do you want to just leave behind as far as what people should really remember about this time?
It was diversity. And there's a lot of diversity now, don't get me wrong. But in 93, there was diversity at the top in the mainstream. I just mentioned how Doggy Style was played on, you know, songs, album cuts were played on the radio. You know, you just don't have that now. You just don't have that outlet for high quality hip hop, you know, to be in the mainstream. And I know it's a different world. I mean, this was literally, you know, a lifetime ago. So I get it, but that's the biggest takeaway that I got from going back and listening to all these different songs and hearing, you know, and remembering, because I was there, we were there, we saw it. It wasn't like these songs didn't get played. There was just a lot of diversity. You might hear Diggable Planets didn't hear Snoop, didn't hear Tribe, didn't hear the Wu-Tang, didn't hear Scarface. It was just how it was done. And I wish we had a little bit more of that. So you might hear Migos, and then you might hear Sky Zoo, and then, you know, I mean, just to give people options versus, you know, the same, you know, same thing. But to your point, how we started this episode talking about Bill Clinton, one of the things that he did that was wasn't as serious as some of the Rockefeller drug laws, but also damning was the deregulation of radio stations, which allowed, you know, corporations to buy up multiple markets and then format all the markets exactly the same, which is why you have the same 8 or 9 songs playing all over multiple times every day in the same format in every market. You know, it helped make music national, but it also eliminated the variety and creativity in the music, you know, at least on the mainstream level. So thanks, Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Billy.
Fuck you very much.
That's what he said to Monica.
I don't owe her an apology. Yo, did you see the interviews with him and James Patterson? James Patterson looked mad uncomfortable as he was trying to explain away all that Monica Lewinsky shit.
No.
James Patterson was like, oh shit, I shouldn't be here. Because they got a book.
They wrote the book together. The President's Missing.
Yeah, and then he was just like he was just trying to like fade away into the bushes like Homer.
Don't mess up the money, man. Let's just talk about the novel, man.
Yeah, man. Let's talk about the fiction. Keep that nonfiction for your own time.
Phil, man, it's just crazy, man. 1993. We're looking at it now from an old man's perspective, man. 25 years ago.
With gray in my beard, yo.
Yeah, I mean, but
I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember going to buy all these joints, ripping the plastic off of cassettes. And
yo, man, Best Buy stock is no longer selling CDs. I mean, if that doesn't, we are right now.
We're going to have a generation of people who don't even know what CDs are.
Yeah,
there's some that already don't. You know, I mean, our kids. You know.
I mean, my kids just think that music just is on my phone. Like it's just there, like at their beck and call.
Yeah,
you don't know about like searching for something or not being able to listen to it like right away.
I still got an iPod Classic. You know, I mean, and I was looking at something on there because I got some playlists on there, and I was just like copying them, like recreating them on Tidal. And he was like, "Well, why do you have that if you got music on your phone?" I'm like, well, it wasn't always the case. And she just was like,
what?
That's whack. Like, she just looked at me in disgust. I'm like, yo. Yeah. I was like, yo. And then I opened the drawer and showed the CD. I was like, I used to have this, and I had a this to put on it. She's like, that's just a lot.
Yeah.
That's just a lot. I was like, yeah, but remember how happy we was to get a CD and we could just skip to the next song. Yeah? Oh, we so old, man.
Game changer.
But it's dope to see though. I also have I have followers on social media and followers on Tissue that collect CDs, like how people collect vinyl, and like they show off their collections. And to me, I'm not. I appreciate that they're, but I'm like, yo, that was Tuesday, literally. That was a Tuesday.
That was a Tuesday.
But it's funny. They'd be like, yo, I just got new pickups, and it'd be like the Easy E, straight off the streets of motherfucking Compton. I'm like that was in the bargain bin for like, But I mean, it's. One is people in other countries where these things weren't so readily available, and two, we take for granted that like a lot of this music was made before a lot of these kids on social media were even born.
Yeah,
and the fact that they're going back to listen to it is dope. So however they get it,
that's a feat in itself.
Yeah, so shout out to all the people that collect CDs. I see you out there.
Oh man. Once again, man, salute to everybody that rocks with us. Continue to do so. And on that note, man, Philmatic, take us out with the fader.
Yeah. You know what we do, Vod. We work for the money, we live for the love, and we die for what we believe in. This is Tissue and the Tape. And we are 93 till infinity. Respect, Heat Holderz.